After a lot of work, I've now been getting consistent payouts from funded accounts since August of 2024. So please let me help you avoid unnecessary suffering by watching this complete guide for everything that's required to make money from prop firms. I stole it from this website that has way more info as well as up-to-date discounts and rankings on the best firms, linked in the description and pinned comment. Before we explain every major rule, process, and everything else, you must understand that prop firms are not the same as trading a personal account. If you don't adapt, or if you start buying challenges without even practicing, you are going to lose money and be the liquidity for the traders who took the time to learn all of the things we'll cover, like how your trading strategy could be great for firms and bad for personal brokerage accounts. There's money to be made if you're smart about it, and we'll get into the specifics on that and a whole lot more. Every section is timestamped, so you can skip the basics if you just want to get to the making money part. At their core, prop firms are pretty simple. You buy an evaluation, trade it, and you become a funded trader if you hit the profit target before the max drawdown. From there, you become funded and you usually keep 90% of the profits. If you fail the funded account and lose all the money, you owe the firm nothing. So it's an incredible opportunity for experienced and practiced traders, but it's a money pit for gamblers and beginners. I've used the 50K starter plan from My Funded Futures here to show the basics on the process of buying an evaluation and what happens after. So pause now if needed, otherwise we'll continue to the more complicated trailing drawdown systems and how these accounts operate. When you're making money and growing the account, the way that the max drawdown moves up is dependent on the trailing system being used. Let's say it's day one of your evaluation. At one point you're up $1,000, but overall you end the day up $200. The intraday max drawdown moved up $1,000 with the account's highest unrealized balance, but the end of day drawdown moved up by just $200. Now your max drawdown is at $48,500 in the intraday account, but it's $47,700 in the end of day account. Doesn't take a rocket surgeon brain scientist to deduce that the intraday system is terrible for traders and borderline predatory, which is why I personally avoid firms that use it. If you need more info on these systems, I've got a page dedicated to this linked in the pinned comment. And remember, the website guide has far more info than what this video will cover, but we'll still go through all the major points. Regardless of the drawdown system, it stops trailing your balance once it reaches the account's starting balance, which in this case is $50,000. If you grow the account to $60K, then you'd have $10,000 in max drawdown. Moving on to the most common rules and using 40% as an example, a 40% consistency rule means that one single day's profit can't be over 40% of the total profit. Here's a simple demonstration to understand how it works. Day 1 plus $300, day 2 plus $500, day 3 plus $200. Total profit equals plus $1,000. Right now, you are not meeting the 40% consistency rule because your biggest single day of profit, $500, is 50% of the total profit. In order to follow the 40% consistency rule, the account balance would need to increase until $500 equals 40% of the total profit. Divide your biggest day of profit by 0.4 to determine the total profit needed. In this instance, that means the account balance needs to be $1,250 for you to request a payout. Of course, understanding this rule before you get funded means that you will be planning ahead. Don't have a massive day of earnings if that's not how you normally trade. Or go with an account that has no consistency rule once funded. Check the pinned comment. The minimum trading day rule is as simple as it sounds. It's just the minimum amount of trading days required to either pass an evaluation or to take a payout from a funded account. Firms differ on how they use this rule, and some don't have it at all, like allowing you to pass in a single day. Pinned comment. As for news events, firms will always tell you whether trading during high-impact events is allowed or not. The scaling rule typically means that you start your funded account without access to the same amount of contracts you could trade with during the evaluation. But as you grow/scale your account, you gain access to higher contract size. Firms differ on this rule and how it's implemented, so it's worth checking out. If you go with a firm that I trade through, and I only pick the best ones, I've got full guides on my website that cover all of their specific policies. Prop firms will never offer the same freedom that a personal account does, but that's not really their appeal. In this example of the total cost being $100 total for an account, you've essentially got 25 attempts to pass the evaluation before you would have been better off depositing $2,500 into your own personal account. Then again, if you fail 25 times, then you definitely weren't ready, and at least you learned something in all of that time instead of losing it all with a live account on day one. Do your learning on a sim account and remember that the max drawdown is the true account size. It's not a $50K account, it's a $2,500 account that ignores typical margin requirements. If you don't understand futures, there's a full guide in the top right from my main channel. I started with a sim account and a personal brokerage account with my own funds, and now I only trade with prop firms. That's just my personal preference though, and here's why. It's easier to trade meaningful size when the money being risked isn't yours. Money and risk. Since the only costs from you are paying to take the evaluation, you can't lose anything beyond that. Cheap access to more capital. Paying $92 total for a $2,500 trading account is an amazing opportunity. However, you have to actually get funded to benefit from this. Some people use firms and personal accounts at the same time, just use firms to fund a personal account, or they don't use firms at all. You're in control here. Now time for some big thinking from you, which will take time and effort far beyond the duration of this simple little video. Analyze and think about the rules and parameters of an account in relation to those consistency and minimum trading day rules. Really think about it. During this work, you might make some important observations like the following. Prop firms allow short-term edges to be exploited in a way that personal accounts wouldn't due to the structure of how firms operate, meaning paying $100 for a $2,500 account and how that cost versus funding capital gap creates an opportunity for funded payouts to offset evaluation costs. Prop firms are not the same as a personal account, so your plan should match the specifics of prop trading environments, and trading through firms should be treated like a business with evaluations as expenses and payouts as income. All that matters is making money, and all I'm saying is to do some math and modeling to figure out what's required to achieve that. If you go into this without an actual trading model and plan, you are going to lose money. Depending on what you do, prop firms will either be more difficult or easier than a personal trading account, and it's up to you to determine why that is and how to take advantage of it. But we'll cover a little bit of that in a minute. Again, there is money to be made here. I've seen people with hundreds of thousands in profit from firms after costs, and I've also seen people who have spent thousands on evaluations without a single payout. Alright, a couple more boring things and then some notes about your trading strategy. Again, skip ahead if this isn't needed. How does billing work? Let's take a look. Let's say you purchase an evaluation on the 10th of the month. If you pass before the 10th of the next month, you will pay nothing more and that past evaluation is over. If you're still trading the account by the 10th of the next month, you get billed again on that date. If you fail the account, you can pay a fee to reset it and try again, or you can wait until the 10th of the next month because it will be reset for free when you get billed again. Unless otherwise specified, buying a prop firm valuation is a monthly cost, and it stops once you get funded. There's almost always many trading platforms to choose from, including the most popular ones, but take a close look at each firm for this. The industry changes quickly, and some firms have even begun creating their own platforms. You'll pick the platform during the sign-up process for buying an account, and you'll get your login information shortly after that. Most firms let you choose to buy level 2 data if you need it. Otherwise, normal data is included for all the major exchanges. After passing the evaluation, you're typically put in the funded sim stage, which is when you are eligible for payouts from a simulated trading environment. Typically, after some clearly specified goal, consistent traders will be put on a live account funded by the firm. Each company does this a little differently. When it comes to taxes, I'm not legally allowed to give advice, but I can say the basics. You are typically not employed by the firm, you're a sole proprietor, and that means you will probably get a 1099 tax form at the end of the year if you get payouts. For me and my common situation, the payouts I get are classified as self-employment income, and so I pay quarterly estimated taxes throughout the year because the government wants their cut. You'll need to talk to a registered CPA for advice, especially if you reach the point where trying to write off evaluation purchases becomes viable to you. As for that giant "what country do you live in" question, that's because futures prop firms in the US are bound by regulations to not allow traders from certain countries to join. They don't personally control that. Do not try to use a VPN to bypass that, and check the firm's website to see if you can use them. As for which firm you should use, don't pay more money for harder evaluations. Go with the firm that you can make the most amount of money from. It's the only thing that matters. And since I actually trade, that's the exact approach I take. And the companies I'm using at the moment to do that will be in the pinned comment. Also, join my free prop firm trading Discord server, which is exclusively for people using firms. I'm very active there because I enjoy doing this, and it'll always be free. I ban anyone who joins with the intention of getting you to buy something or scam you. Alright, let's get into your actual trading strategy. As mentioned earlier, risk management is just as important as the actual strategy itself, but it's more complicated than that. It's more accurate to say that regardless of how good your trading is, you will not succeed with firms if you haven't crunched the numbers on the best way to implement it in terms of position sizing and risk management. Call it aggression, leverage, Jonathan, or whatever. You have a lot of options. I've passed evaluations in one day, and I've passed them in a month, slow and steady style. There's too many options for me to give specifics because so many styles can work, but you need to experiment on a free sim account to determine things like the following. Are you going to trade micros and keep the position sizing small, or are you actually better off using the max position size? Once you're actually ready, a conservative approach will require less evaluation purchases, but it will also take more time to pass. So you have to decide what your opportunity cost is. There is no right or wrong, just some analysis that needs to be done on your part in relation to your specific approach. If you follow your strategy and risk management rules, what will the funded account growth be in comparison to the total spent on evaluations? What is a reasonable number of attempts for you to pass? And are you going to grow your funded account, or are you going to take the max payout as soon as possible? As for this one, I can assure you that making the most amount of money requires account growth rather than withdrawals as soon as possible. If you take a withdrawal as soon as you can, then that money is reduced from your balance, and you'll become that much closer to the max drawdown. However, that brings us to an important point about what your goal is for doing this. Are you going to be like me and go for consistent withdrawals for side income, or are you trying to make this your full-time job? That's important, and it needs to be factored into your plan. Do not start that funded account until you've very clearly defined what you're going to do. We covered this earlier, but remember that it can help to think of using firms as a business. Evaluations are the cost, and payouts are the revenue. The difference between those two is your profit. Nobody who currently makes money from firms has done that by just buying a single account. It takes several attempts, and everyone varies on their pass rate, which is completely fine as long as you're profiting. Sometimes you'll see various people who aren't making money from trading whining about how using prop firms isn't real trading and that they're scams. But remember that there's money to be made if you have the patience to do the work, the discipline to use a free sim account until you have it down, and the ability to read the rules for the firm you use. Prop firms are difficult, but I actually put the time and work in, and my bank account doesn't care whether I use evil prop firms or something else. Did you hear that? Your bank account doesn't care. This guide has been me teaching you how to fish rather than just giving you a fish. Those who understand that will do well, or at least save a ton of time and money, and those who want to get rich quick might be disappointed. But since I don't sell any courses and have made everything available to learn for free on imantrading.org, I can tell you the truth on how much work this takes rather than saying I have the holy grail behind a paywall. I am not the greatest trader of all time or even close to that, but I'm making a small amount of valuable side income from firms. Please check the pinned comment for additional information, updates, and to see which firms you should be using. If you have any questions about your trading strategy, what you should use, how to experiment with it, or anything else, then please visit the non-prop firm trading guide on my website. Everything will be answered. It's why I made the site. Be smart and take care. Thank you for supporting me on Patreon. There's nothing there on how to trade.